It's time for all your binge-worthy pop culture news. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me at such an early time. I appreciate you guys. Today, we are back to talk with powerhouse attorney Ronald Richards. You guys know him from Twitter and everything that he's been doing, all of his involvement with the Girardi cases. It's been intense, and honestly, I get all of my information from his Twitter. So if you're not following him, you need to follow him. And with that said, if you haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button. Let's get some more eyes in the room, and let's bring up Ronald Richards. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Adam. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for accommodating the early start. I got a heavy court calendar this morning. Appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. No, thank you for, the fact that you constantly come on with us and, you're sharing new updates every single week. Everybody is so curious as to what's going on. And I feel like this is coming out by the day. And now you have even more new information. So thank you.
And I see you got Kempire watching the broadcast too. That's great.
Yep, I have Kempire in the room. We have a lot of people in the room. We're almost at 300 in the first minute, and I'm sure it'll probably get up to 1,000 fast.
That's great. So yeah, a lot's transpiring. And of course, you guys could always follow the updates at Ronald Richards on Twitter. And my office runs an Instagram page for @attorney Ronald Richards. If you miss stuff, but we try to keep everybody up to date. But yeah, lots been going on. And of course, it's a fluid process because you have, incredible dynamics coming from the show itself last night, as you know.
Yeah, that was an intense episode. Honestly, I think that was probably the best episode of the season. And the fact that Erica was explaining on the show that she feels tortured by her castmates, they really just have all of these questions. I think, especially for Garcelle and Sutton, they're asking the same questions that all the fans want to know, while the other women are trying to stay away from the drama. And a lot of fans are speculating maybe that's because Erica might know things on them too. You never know.
Yeah, a lot of it. Now, remember, the show was taped almost a year ago, and a lot of things that are revealed, I think she regrets. I mean, the comment about using more Lexapro does not help her as a witness. And the chronic positions that she didn't know what was going on is disturbing, to say the least, because everyone always says, Adam, why do you tweet about Erica, or why don't you just do everything in the court? And to give you the simple reason, it's not fair to the public of such a large-scale fraud by her husband that they just get a false narrative on her followers and other people listening to the false narrative that somehow she just fell out of the innocent spouse turnip truck and didn't know what was going on. And I have very solid evidence that I've been able to get that I'm only going to reveal on your show, and I'm not going to publish it at least until tomorrow or the next day, or discuss it, because I don't want people stealing sort of what you provided. And you've been, a target of her lawyers, as you know, for actually just speaking the truth. And I also support small media, and you're definitely someone that is bringing out a message of facts to people that don't want to always watch big corporate media.
Right. Well, thank you.
Welcome.
All right. So I know that when we talked, you were, and I have a few of your tweets that I want to bring up later, but right now, what everyone doesn't know is that EJ Global never actually made any money. And this has been a sort of decade-long tax. What is this? What do you call this?
I mean, I frankly call it a tax fraud. That's my opinion. That's what I think it is. But some people may have other views. But the public really needs to know something. And I only support what I say by facts that I'm given. But I'm going to tell you something. From 2008 to 2014, and then, of course, after that, from 2015 to 2018, but I want to first stick to these early years. From the moment EJ Global was created, it never made any money. It lost $331,297 the first year, $1,490,000 and change the second year, $3,949,000 and change the third year, $3,811,000 the fourth year, $4,470,000 the fifth year, $2,889,000 the sixth year, and the seventh year, $3,360,000. And then, of course, it may have had some money one year, it turned into black, but the rest, all the way up to 2018, were all staggering losses. But for the first 6 years, it was basically incorporated. It never made any money. And it got to such an extent that the Franchise Tax Board called them out on it and opened up an audit and basically found that this company is not engaging in any profit. And basically what I've determined is that Tom Girardi and Erica just used her acting company to basically take large deductions, I mean, in the scale of $20 million plus, to basically what we call lifestyle expenses. And the taxpayers of California were completely cheated by this tax scheme. And all they did is run all of their lifestyle expenses through her company. So when she says she didn't know, I mean, she hired an attorney, and it's on previously stuff that I've posted that I use the same firm in Beverly Hills for clients we jointly represent. It's a good tax firm. And she's been dealing with this tax audit even up to this year. So to suggest that she's not talking to an attorney, the entire tax audit, so you understand, Adam, was based upon her as the actress. So you would never be able to defend the tax position, and they requested a live hearing without talking to Erica. So for her to say she doesn't know is simply belied by the defense she put up in the audit. She's the 100% owner of EJ Global. And basically the government of California, the tax authorities called the Franchise Tax Board, has specifically said, you don't even have a real business. This is just a joke, basically, in layman's terms, because you run a business at a loss. Like, Adam, just so everyone understands out there, you can't have a business that never makes any money forever. All right. Startups lose money sometimes, but when you deduct what's called lifestyle expenses, and these expenses are staggering expenses. It doesn't cost Erica $3.8 million, let's say in 2011, for her to go on a TV show. It's ridiculous. So what they did is a couple, and she signed every return. And as you know, in her book, she says she signed the returns and she acknowledged the returns. She took these bogus tax deductions, and that's why EJ Global is a sham company, and why she's not going to be able to hide behind the $25 million in expenses that the law firm paid for her and for this company. And she's completely integrated in the process going back now for years. So I don't know why anybody on her side thinks it's healthy to pretend that her dementia-laden husband, it's all his fault. I mean, it's not believable. And it's going to come back to hurt her with, she takes these positions on the show that she didn't know, she's crying, and that why are they all talking about it? Well, between the victims losing $50+ million and then her basically cheating the state with deductions of over $20 million, at some point, you got to take responsibility. It's not a good defense to say, I don't know. All right. By the way, we don't really care, as I've repeatedly said, whether she knows or not, but the circumstantial evidence is overwhelming that she knew she was never paying any taxes, and that she was, or very little taxes, maybe in 1 or 2 years. But it's overwhelming that she was involved in their tax strategy and knows what her company is doing. And it's not, she's a grown woman. She's not an 18-year-old kid. Right, Adam?
Right. So, well, my question for you is then, if we already know about the Amex bill and all of this money that she could potentially have to owe back, could this $20 million almost whatever this number is in deductions, could she eventually be slammed with having to pay that back too?
Well, the franchise tax board is going after her. You don't get a pass because your joint tax return was filed, and it's very sexist to say, well, my husband was the one that handled the money and I'm the wife. I mean, a lot of women handle the money in relationships. It doesn't make a difference from the government standpoint, but they're going to try to say in the bankruptcy, if the tax liability is eliminated, then she should get the benefit of that because it's a community property tax liability. But she's on the hook for the tax liability. That's why it's hard to settle a case with her, because she has so many other problems. I mean, I'm not her only problem. She makes it look like I'm her only problem because I'm the only one that I'm tired. I just can't sleep at night if we have another Girardi where we have to shut up. Like, this is what her husband did to adversaries 20 years. Our clients, if you ever talked about them, they tried to kick you off the case. They threatened you. And I just can't do that. I have to tell the truth. And I just want to let everybody, 6 open cases right now. If you think the Girardi case is bringing me $1 of income, you're unfortunately, sadly mistaken. I'm working my other files, but I can't be the guy that sits on the fence and simply allows another lawyer to be silent. And so then the public gets cheated and then nobody knows what's going on. And so I rather just do it the way I feel good about myself and stick with the consequences, Adam.
So my next question is, fans were feeling like because Erica was trying to give us this narrative of Tom Girardi driving his car off the side of the hill, and then, maybe something happened 3 years ago that made him start acting differently. Fans were wondering, are you trying to make that look like that's what led to Alzheimer's and dementia? But I've had so many viewers who have come on here and we've had conversations, and they've even said, this doesn't span back to only 3 years ago. This goes back 10, 20 years ago, maybe. And with that, you can't use the car accident as an excuse as to why Tom Girardi was conducting business the way he was.
Yeah, Tom, the narratives that she spinned on the show, I don't think she ever knew that they were going to be scrutinized. And frankly, the Girardis lived a life of privilege. They were not used to lawyers questioning them. This is what people don't understand. People were afraid because of their government connections to do anything. And so even lawyers, even like sort of aggressive lawyers like myself, I didn't want to really, who wants to go there unless you have the proof?
Right.
And so, and by the way, it's sometimes hard to prove everything if they won't let you have access. Like right now, Erica has an account that she will not let me have access to. So that account is being funded. And then she has a couple celebrity friends of hers tweeting, that she's a great person. And look, she's the best housewife of all time. I mean, they don't know what she's really done. They don't have the tax records or see the carnage of clients and lawyers that didn't get paid. They don't have all that. And so I get it. They're just kind of throwing out a bone for their friend. But the real issue is that people need to expose this for what it is and not be intimidated by what she's going to do to them and the name calling and just sort of the venom. I mean, she compared herself to Donald Trump on her Twitter page during the show because of her sort of nasty, vicious sewing the teeth. But it's not like she has the secret exculpatory winning evidence. I just want people to know that at the end of the day, I'm going to chip her apart, whether it's me or somebody else, and show that this was all a long history of tax evasion, of improper conduct, and that she's going to have to deal with it. And I just don't know if she's going to deal with it. So she won't show me who's financing all this. I mean, the money's coming from somewhere. And so these kind of scripted things on the show, I feel obligated to let the public know after a night of hearing how bad we feel for Erica because you wouldn't want to be in her shoes. I mean, she put on her own shoes, all, 200 pairs of them, and tied the laces herself. I mean, nobody's to blame for Erica's situation but Erica.
Well, Sutton even said, when you make a deal with the devil comes knocking eventually. But, I have a question for you because you're using the words tax evasion, and we've talked about this before. Right now, there would be no reason to pursue Erica criminally for anything because that's not what this is. This isn't a criminal case. But tax evasion, would that be considered a criminal case?
Yes, of course. I mean, look, I don't know who's referring. I mean, when these audits are finished, there's a huge $3.8 million tax liability. I saw a levy for Mr. Girardi the other day. I mean, that's up to the auditor whether they refer these things. I mean, these are called basically deduction audits where you make crazy deductions on your tax returns for what's called lifestyle expenses, but they're not really related to her appearing on a show. I mean, the Glam Squad is not a $4,470,000 expense like she did in 2012 where she lost that much money. It's basically, that'll be a referral that they'll have to decide, but it's not for me to decide. I'm just pointing out what's obvious. Okay. And because her lawyers tried to sort of suggest that only the LLC is liable for the $25 million that Girardi Keys paid for it. However, the LLC did more than just get a receivable and get a bunch of money from the law firm. The LLC was part and parcel in the central player in the tax evasion the Girardis did from 2008 to 2018. You need to know that. So, and I'm willing to defend that position, and I'm willing to go up one-on-one against anybody that wants to tell me this was not a tax fraud, okay? So you could bring them on any show in America, and I'm happy to defend my position that you cannot deduct for 10 years in a row your lifestyle expenses through your paid for by your husband's law firm, and then you both deducting it on your personal income tax. That is not legal, in my opinion.
Right. Wow. Okay. This is actually deeper than what I thought before we jumped onto this interview.
Well, I can't show you my cards, Adam, everyone should know this is live and unscripted. And you should let your viewers know you don't give me the questions in advance. No one ever does. I don't want them because I don't give anybody the questions
in advance. So that's actually,
Yeah, but I mean, I just tell the truth, and I can defend any of my positions with evidence.
And with that, there's almost 1,500 people in the room right now watching. Guys, again, if you haven't already hit that like button, make sure you do. And if you're not following Ronald Richards on Twitter, you can follow him. You see right below his handle at Attorney Ronald Richards. I do have a couple more questions because I know you have a lot to do today and you have to go to court. You talked about, and I believe maybe it was with People magazine. It could have been a different publication, but you talked about this $156,600 charge when it came to a company called DNA. Now, there was a production company that Erica Girardi allegedly used called DNA, but then there's also Lisa Rinna's daughter's company that they had that was called DNA. But you felt like it was most likely their daughter's company that she spent the money on. Why do you feel like that?
Well, I don't necessarily have people have asked me about that. The daughters haven't come on and said that's not our company. No one on their side or Lisa Rinna's side has said that money didn't go to us. It seemed logical that she bought clothes from Lisa's daughter's company versus a production. It was hard for me to understand what production she'd be paying for, but according to her, she doesn't know how the money was spent. So that's why I was hoping to draw out what the correct answer is. But for the record, I don't have a definitive opinion yet. It just seemed to sort of gravitate toward a friendly closed purchase versus paying for productions, but I don't know the answer.
Got it. And then I have another question. It was a tweet that you recently tweeted. I'm going to bring it up really quick just so I don't read it wrong. You said, breaking news on Girardi at State Bar, California, LA Times. The California Supreme Court has issued a rare order to show cause to the state. Why all of the Girardi investigation should not be made public. Docket and order attached. Guys, this is, by the way, before you answer, this is another one of the tweets that I'm talking about. I wake up in the morning and I go check Ronald Richards' Twitter to see what's going on with this, because he does attach the documents, and it's more of a credible source than I'm going to get from any other publication who's just going back and reading the exact same thing that he's putting out there without having a legal opinion. So what was that tweet about?
Okay, that was a very important tweet, and I put the whole docket for everybody to see. The California Supreme Court, so everybody understands, believe it or not, here's less cases than the United States Supreme Court. They are a very, very busy court. It's the most populous state in the nation. You have only seven justices, and they take very few cases, and because we still have a death penalty in California, they got to review every single death penalty case. So they're not what I would say. They have plenty of work to do. Okay,
right.
And the LA Times, which since Dr. Sung bought the newspaper, has really turned back into a premier newspaper, and they, at their own dime, filed a challenge to the State Bar's interim chief trial counsel's decision not to release 30 years of consumer complaints about Tom Girardi. Now, typically what everybody should know is lawyers get complaints all the time with the State Bar. That doesn't mean the lawyer did something wrong, because crazies file complaints. People that aren't even your client file complaints. And sometimes complaints are used to get money from lawyers. So just because a complaint's filed doesn't mean the lawyer did something wrong. So I agree generally with the policy that a lawyer's complaint should not be ever made public, like a complaint that was closed. That seems fair. It's like a grand jury investigating a subject. If they don't indict, why should anybody know about an investigation and ruin someone's life? However, Thomas Girardi is not your typical legal investigation. One, he's already been enrolled inactive. He's already been referred for disbarment. And this is the exception to the rule that there's no basis to have his complaints private anymore. And the public needs to understand and see who complained and how this was brushed under the rug. All right.
Right.
Now, I don't want to get any reprisals from any government agencies, especially the ones that regulate lawyers. I'm only commenting, so we're very clear, on the California Supreme Court's decision to issue an order to show cause why they should not release this information. Because at the end of the day, they're the boss. The State Bar, all the lawyers, we all are under the regulatory supervision of the California Supreme Court. That's basically who we all basically hold our allegiance to, so to speak. They're the boss. So in a rare order to show cause, and I am telling you guys, that never happens, that the Supreme Court jumps in and says to the State Bar, hey, we want a hearing on this. They granted the LA Times petition and ordered a hearing as to why they should not release those records and why there's some other legal issues. That is a huge deal, because if they order the release of the records, Adam, I'm going to be busy for like 6 months flying through those, because you're talking hundreds of thousands of pages of documents and other things that the public is just going to be blown away by, that were swept under the rug for the last 30 years. So it's important. That's will be a landmark decision, and I'll be covering it. I'll be watching it live for everybody, because I don't want anybody to fall asleep with all the legal arguments. But at the end of the day, everybody needs to see how these complaints are filed and why they were closed, so the public is aware of why lawyers, like sort of symptoms of what lawyers do wrong, because Girardi did everything a lawyer's not supposed to do. Everything. If you want to, he's a textbook example of what lawyers should never do.
Oh, okay. Wow. This is a lot of information. Again, I know I said that I was only going to keep you.
No, you can finish up your questions. I got another 5 minutes if you want.
Okay. So I just want to kind of go back for a second because I have a question about, we know that Erica Girardi could be pursued for about $25 million, right? For the money that has been spent. But now we're hearing about tax evasion. I guess, unless I missed this part and you already said it, can they be pursued at the same time? And how much can this bill eventually rack up for Erica before, you realize there's only so much you can get out of her?
Well, Erica owes my client $25 million for the money that was spent on her by the law firm and booked as a receivable to be paid back under what's called an open book account. But she doesn't have $25 million. So all I really want her to do is stop making us waste money on legal events that are going nowhere and costing you money. And whoever is financing her professional fees, including her legal fees and all the fees for the lawyers that she hires for me, for the witnesses that I represent, or that, that I'm getting documents, not that I represent, but the witnesses that I'm trying to get documents from. I want her to return some of that money based on her current ability. What I think the disconnect is she didn't want to believe that she would owe money from her post-separation earnings. They always thought, well, if we could just show that we didn't get any money from them except for maybe the lottery payments, then we're home free. They didn't appreciate that I was going to modify the theory once I backed up the receivable to see where the money went. Since she spent all the money herself and all the money was used to pay for her glam, glitz, and handbags and jewelry, and the tax strategy for the last 10 years has been to use her company not to pay the taxes, and she's intricately involved in those decisions, I don't believe she's going to be able to say that her company is the only party liable. I believe I'm going to be able to show it's an alter ego and that the pretty mess is what we call a successor company to where she's funneling the income now. So that's what I want, is for her to say, look, in the next 20 years, I'm going to make X amount of millions of dollars, and I want to give a portion of that back to the estate, and then she can move on with her life. If she thinks for a second that she's going to flush $25 million of expenses where a lot of that money could be traced back to settlements that were never paid, for sure. And by the way, that doesn't matter. That's why I don't want to go through the brain damage of trying to figure out the 50 different accounts or so this guy had. And I'm using a high number, but let's say numerous accounts. I just want to show that I just want to show one thing, that the money went to her and that she spent it, and now it's time to return it. And that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, guys, if you're listening, you heard it here, especially about the EJ Global never making money and the tax evasion, which honestly, this blows my mind. And everything that you say on here and what you're putting out in your tweets, it continuously just, I feel like at this point, I'm never surprised anymore because stuff just keeps coming out and we're on this kind of carousel that doesn't stop. So I'm interested to see what continues to come out. Again, I know that you have a busy day, so I appreciate your time and thank you for coming on and sharing all of this with us.
Okay, no problem, Adam. And then we will touch base when the next shoe drops here and keep the discussion going. And I hope everyone is enjoying this. And it's an important public topic that we should never let die, because we need to make sure this never happens to any other clients, and that we need to also put all the lawyers on notice. We're watching you too. So if you do something funny when the case is settled, I expect people to put you on the blast. They can call my office. We may be targeting another former husband who I may be helping. I'll maybe come on the show. We found some victims on the East Coast. I'm going to be traveling to investigate that. But we definitely want to help some of these people that have been victimized both by lawyers and by former castmates using their prestige to dupe people for money. We think that's a good thing to do.
It never ends for you. It never ends. It obviously never ends as far as scandals in the Housewives world. We have so much going on, whether it's with Erica, well, the Girardis, Jen Shaw. Now there might be a potential another house husband on the East Coast. We're hearing about Noella Bergner's husband, Sweet James. It just doesn't stop. So again, for everybody watching, go over to Ronald Richards, follow him on Twitter, because you will get all of this information before you hear it from anyone else. So,
yeah, and by the way, one of your comments, people out there just posted that I'm speculating that the money I'm chasing for is lender money. Okay, I think people are confused. Okay, the money, obviously lenders lent the law firm money and then they were never paid back. The money, the $25 million that was given to Erica from Girardi Keese, 100% came from the clients. That was the client's settlement money, number one. And number two, the client's settlement money was the revenue of the firm. So the lender money also was given to some of the accounts in the firm, but a lot of that was spent on the case expenses. It doesn't matter, though, for the purposes of whether she has to return this money. None of the $25 million should have been given to EJ Global. So the source of that money doesn't matter. It's the fact that she took this money, and we don't need to pick it apart, whether it was client money or lender money or what we call money that was commingled. It's still money that should have never been given to her, and the years of tax deductions of personal expenses and lifestyle expenses should have never been run through the company, which should have never gotten the expenses from the law firm paid, and they should have never deducted $20 million plus in deductions and then lowered their tax rate to less than zero. That is not right. So people just try to throw out these things. I'm not going to go on a wild goose chase and try to figure out how many clients he defrauded and trace it. You don't need to be a rocket science to figure out. You just look at the claims in the bankruptcy case. Many, many people are claiming they never got their settlements. So that money obviously did not go up in smoke. The Girardis spent it. That's why the clients didn't get their settlement money. So you're always going to have people that say, oh, well, I'm guessing. I'm not guessing anything. I'm looking at real tax returns, real deductions, and real victims. And all of it points to one person that was micromanaging the whole thing. That's Tom Girardi at the top. And right next to him, just maybe a shade lower, is Erica Girardi, spending it, participating in the audits, signing all the tax returns. This is preponderance of the evidence. More likely than not, there was an open book account with the law firm, and it's time for her to pay some of this money back. It's that simple. And with that, I'll rest. Have a great day, Adam. Bye.
All right. Hey, yes, save some of your energy for court.
All right, bye.
No, Ronald Richards, thank you. Guys, this was an incredible conversation. We had a lot that was said here. Obviously, this was another amazing exclusive interview with Ronald Richards, and he gave us more information that we weren't even expecting. Wow. If you guys have anything to say about it, go ahead, talk with him on Twitter, or even comment below on this video. Again, if you haven't already, smash that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you get subscribed, because we're going to continue to cover everything that's going on in the Bravo world and other networks too. We don't just stop there. So until next time, I'll see you then. And guys, don't forget also, we will be going live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Zach Peter, who has his podcast Unfiltered with Zach, to talk about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, last night's episode. We're going to pick it apart, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys can find the video in my community tab. See you next time. Bye, guys.